Happy Saturday, fam. I am excited for this freaking book. I feel like years have been in preparation of reading and discussing the contents of this piece of literature. No, I'm excited. It's obviously an autobiography by Will, written in tandem with Mark Manson. And we are covering the introduction as well as chapter one, fear, and then chapter two, which is fantasy. Um, yeah, I'm really excited to hear everyone's takes. Obviously, I know it's only us four this week. I know Jason has the book in his reading, and so is Stratton, so they should be joining us, if not later this call, then next week. But to be honest, y'all, I've been peeping the recording, so y'all say hi. There are actual views consistently every week of people who are tuning in and listening to the conversation. So really cool. And for those, welcome back as well. If you're catching us on YouTube, we hope you're enjoying the discussion and reading along with us. And we are excited for, hearing about or seeing the fruition of the things that you apply. I think one of the biggest things that has inspired this book club over the years, especially because it started off with just me and Mikhail being serious with each other. We talked about this literally this week, but just being serious with one another about not just understanding what books to read and then like skimming them and somewhat going through them, but it's actually reading the books and then actually doing the things that they say in the books to apply within our lives towards the dreams, the goals, and the things that we want to accomplish. At the end of the day, the level of success that you obtain and towards your goals is really going to be dependent upon your level of personal development. And that's why we wanted to curate this space. I really do see this space growing continuously and consistently. And I'm not just talking about in a sense of people attending, but also in the sense of the impact and the profound significance that occurs not only through us, but the people that we come in contact with, and those that we serve with what we do. So, one, grateful for the space. I'm grateful for you guys who are tuning in, whether you're catching the recording or you're here presently live with the few, the proud, the book clubbers. No, no offense to the Mariners. We appreciate all the services that have been done for our country. But that being said, on a, on a serious note, Imani, I can't stand you sometimes. The thing, your face right now, the way you just said that, you're like, bro, this man can't be serious. I am, okay? We appreciate our vets. But again, chapter one, chapter two, and the introduction of Will. Um, if y'all don't mind, I'd love to kick us off. Is that okay? All right, perfect. I haven't kicked off a book club in a very long time, and I feel like it is time overdue. I'm gonna be honest, I did not finish chapter two. I am still working on getting through with that. So in that, I'm looking forward in finishing out that chapter to hold myself accountable, but also for the following discussions as we continue reading. But starting with the beginning. One of the biggest things that stood out to me is what his dad told him and his brother when they were complaining about the wall, right? So obviously his dad was like, "We're gonna build this 20-foot wall in front of the shop, and I don't want to hear nothing. It don't matter what you got going on. It don't matter how you feel. We gonna get this wall up, and I ain't paying nobody to do it. We're gonna do this as a family." So, one, at first I'm like, "Oh, this is cool. It's gonna be like a family project," but like hearing about the perspective of how Will felt and his brother felt, they were complaining at one point and his dad tells him, "Stop thinking about the damn wall. There is no wall. There are only bricks. Your job is to lay this brick perfectly, then move on to the next brick, then lay that brick perfectly, then the next one. Don't be worrying about no wall. The only concern is one brick." And I was like, yo, his dad was honestly giving him a lot of wisdom in that one statement because as he was able to reflect as an older man, Will, and through his own life, he was writing this book in tandem with Mark Manson about how there's been a lot of lessons that he resisted over the years, through whether it be being stubborn, hard-headed, or just resisting them on its entirely. I could relate to that a lot. There's a lot of things that I didn't want to acknowledge as truth that over time I had to come to a conclusion that yo, you will not get through the season until you decide to learn the lesson. And the guarantee from God is that you will continue to be in this season until you learn said lesson. If you don't want to repeat the lesson, learn it, right? And it's not just a matter of like, okay, I acknowledge it and I see it. It's in a matter of I acknowledge it, I see it, and I implement what I've learned from it to move forward from it. And the weight of the truth becomes unavoidable. And the more I've accepted truth, especially in my faith, the more I've been able to operate with a sense of clarity and a sense of peace that regardless of what I got going on or how I feel or what the situations are, I've been high key implementing this in my life. You know, we read about it in winning, but it doesn't matter how you feel or what outcome you had. It's about the process. So if you won, awesome, congratulations. You got to put your head on the pillow, wake up, do it again. If you lost, what lesson did you learn from it? Sucks, hurts, but you're gonna have to put your head on the pillow, wake up, and do it again. And when you focused on the wall, the job feels impossible and never ending. But if you focus on the brick, it becomes more doable, right? And I feel like if you understand, like he wrote, another brick sitting right there in front of you, waiting to be laid. The only question is, are you going to get up and lay it? It's about showing up and doing it, period, point blank, right? And I thought that was cool because it's really lit. I really love how God works and how we plan out the book clubs because we really intentionally thought about like, hey, oh, she got a picture next to her name. Now quit playing. I ain't seen a picture next to Imani in a long time. I don't
I'm
even remember. That's actually lit. Okay, let's go. But my bad, recording. Um, but no, seriously though, we read this past book, Relentless, and he spent a lot of time talking about routines and showing up. And before we decided what books we were going to read first, I really think that book is really setting us up to really dive into some things that we might be holding on to, or some things that are going to be revealed to us so that we can weather the adversity. I didn't. She back with the tag, but I genuinely admired what his dad said whenever they looked at the wall and they stood next to him, right? And he goes, "Now, don't y'all ever tell me there's something that you cannot do." And despite obviously, as we started reading in chapter one, the yeah, it is actually crazy. But as we get into chapter one and his obviously the fractured relationship that he had with his dad, the difficulty that he had of respecting and fearing him, the difficulty that he had of loving his dad, but also being really frustrated with his pops and how he treated his mother. Um, like it just added context of what his dad overall was still doing the best that he could to like give and teach a lesson to his children. I thought that was a cool thing in how he ended the introduction because I aim to do that for my kids one day. I think about like, yo, what are the lessons and the wisdom that I've gained over the years, and how am I going to be intentional in establishing those key points and those cornerstone moments for my children one day? Because I know I look back at certain situations and circumstances in my life where I'm like, yo, this is actually surreal. I remember when this occurred and what emotional or spiritual, either revelation or trauma, that led to my certain perception or paradigm of life. And I really do think that, shout out his name Will though, because I used to be young, bro, and like thinking about like Will Smith has a cool name. And especially as like we think about what real having a will means, to be relentless, to be perseverant within your trials and tribulations. Um, I feel like I'm gonna have another level of respect for the type of mentality that Will Smith has perceived. But anyways, I did not see my father abuse my mother. I know there were some things that occurred in terms of, Lord, I'm gonna be transparent on this. I hear you. There's some things in terms of loyalty and covenant that I witnessed as a youngin that made me angry with how my dad treated the women in my life. And in that process, I had to kind of heal through that, right? And you could see um he said on page 2, he goes, nobody, but nobody was going to tell my father what to do. Oh, my dad is very strong-willed as well. You know what I'm saying? And I was like just putting myself in how I operated with my pops and seeing that, my dad drew a healthy fear from me. Like I knew that a good father will discipline his children because he loves his children. The discipline is there to correct and guide. It's real life wild. I was at Bible study this morning with other men of God, and the scripture we covered was in Hebrews chapter 12, and specifically verses 5 through 6. And I'm just gonna read it because it's right in tune with how I related this to my situation with my dad. And it says, don't make light of the Lord's discipline and don't give up when he corrects you. For the Lord disciplines those he loves, and he punishes each one he accepts as his child. And in verse 11, it says, no discipline is enjoyable. It's painful. This is what the book of God says, right? It's like the discipline is painful, but afterward, there will be a peaceful harvest of right living for those who are trained in this way. It is purposefully there to mature you in the way in which you should go. And honestly, the way my dad disciplined me, like I would be buckled in my boots. I'm not gonna lie to you. I knew he was not going to keep the switch away from me. Like if I needed a butt whipping and I needed my mindset corrected, oh, my dad would definitely make sure that I knew I'm gonna see him in the room. But I grew an unhealthy relationship with my dad because I felt like I could never really please him. This is gonna be a difficult book, y'all. At first, whenever I was hopping on this thing, I'm like, yo, I know there's some things, but Lord, I'm still healing from some stuff, you know? And I just recognize how like my dad wasn't out here beating me. But the my relationship with my fear with my dad is something that I could relate to and him because he had said that Will's dad was his passionate work ethic, boundless energy, and undeniable intelligence allowed him to go and do things within his career of having he said transformative power of order and discipline, two values that he came to worship in the guardrails of protecting him in the worst parts of himself. I'm like, that is deep. That is deep, and it's not a game. My dad grew up as an army brat. And it's wild too because I don't know if y'all peeped it, but my dad actually called me before this call started, and I'm like, dude, I'm about to talk about you, and I'm gonna call him afterwards too. But it's just wild to see how like no, it's a pink pineapple. He has a fascination of these chemicals that they put into the organic fruit that makes them pink. I
They
just
actually genetically engineered them and they
I,
grow pink,
yeah,
sir.
genetically engineered. Same, but
Yes.
different, but still same.
Bro, isn't there like what's the other? There's a whole fruit
Like,
that people eat that is literally not a real fruit and they genetically engineered that too. I don't
yeah, it's
remember which one it is.
do you know that
Yeah,
lemons
lemons, broccoli.
yeah, lemons are not even, you know how like people say when life gives you lemons, make lemonade? Well, technically man gave you lemons. It was a hybrid between a form of like a tangerine, an orange, and a
Hey,
lime.
but you still eat lemons though, right?
No, I don't eat them. I use the juice.
All right, so don't be talking mess about me eating my pineapple.
It's okay, bro.
Your
You know
GMO
that
watermelon pineapple.
we read that book, The Four Agreements, you know what I'm saying? Don't take it personal. All right, but but no, but genuinely, y'all, like seeing the fact of with his father, yo, it's been causing me to dive a little deep on like, okay, well, what areas of my life have I allowed certain things to come up? And like in my faith, I've grown to have a different perception of the level of discipline that my dad gave me, but also the level of standard in which my dad
Dude,
expected me to live life at. I've talked about this pretty consistently, but there was a point where my dad literally told me, well, he told myself, He told me through telling other people is that faith isn't enough and that I need to do things that I can't just rely on the faith. And, you know, partially that is true, right? Faith without works is dead. But his understanding of faith and his lack of implementation of living faithfully doesn't allow him to have the paradigm and the perception that I've gained through wisdom, aka applied knowledge and experience. And in that, that's a bar. I'm gonna get this recording, but that's real life though. And in that process, like I've been able to grow away from this feeling of not being good enough, or away from this feeling of like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to reach or make my dad proud. And honestly, because of my perception of it, it blocked me in accepting the times where my dad has actually said that he was proud of me, you know? Like he would say it, I'm like, do you mean that? You mean that though? You mean that? You know what I'm saying? Like the meme. And I was genuinely like, yo, I don't know if he really did, but like as I was able to work and allow God to bring freedom through forgiveness in my life, I've been able to stay intentional with my mindset there in it. But yeah, anyways, there's another part I want to touch on, and then I'll pass the mic because, like I said, I still gotta finish chapter two. But okay, where's that? Yeah, so he has said that how his 9-year-old brain was processing his dad's abusive episodes as somehow being his fault. He goes, I should have been able to keep my father satisfied. I should have been able to protect my mother. I should have been able to make the family stable and happy. I should have been able to make everything all right. Me and Mikhail were just talking about this last night. You know, when you have a healthy, faithful, driven marriage, it provides a safe environment for your children to understand that they don't need to take the roles of an adult. They can instead be inspired and shown an example of what true love, sacrifice, and honor looks like. So one, shout out the Steels, shout out the biblically like marriages and mentors that I've had who showcase this and are actively breaking generational trauma and curses by setting a different example for their children and allowing their kids to grow up in an environment of love. Because although I didn't this book is gonna be crazy. But although I didn't like see the abuse and stuff growing up, my parents divorced I was like 4. So when I was 3, 4, or 5, prior to like things being in tune, my parents were married for maybe like 5, 6 years, max 7. I don't remember the numbers. But I specifically remember the times where loud yelling and things being extremely tense and unhealthy, and me attempting to console my siblings, whether it was my brother or my sisters. Like I'm grateful for the experience because it forced me to grow and be the man that I am today, but it's also showed me how I want my life to resemble and give my children permission to be who they want to be, who God asked them to be, and actually know the love that can be received because God loves us, you know? So, anyways, he says, the fears create desires, and the desires precipitate actions. These repetitive actions and predictable responses are the building blocks of great cinematic characters. You know how people say like, my life be a movie? Like we are literally the main characters of our life, and we have the ability to allow God to write the story and us carry out that narrative in the way that God is leading it, or we can try to create it on our own. But regardless of the fact, fear is necessary. Like he was saying that a character's fear is a critical part of understanding his or her psyche, and I think it is necessary. Like as a human being, the biggest thing for me when I read that was like we are called to experience life, and that's not just the sunshine and rainbows. That's experiencing what suffering feels like, what loss feels like. It's experiencing crying, it's experiencing laughter, it's experiencing once in a lifetime type of memories. It's experiencing things that you're able to do with consistency and how discipline and your goals can really yield what it is you're going after. And yo, shout out fear because although there have been things that have when I was younger, I had a negative relationship with fear. As I grew wiser and more mature, my relationship with fear changed and I was able to grow into this sense where I run at fear. Even though it's uncomfortable and unfamiliar, I recognize that that unknown is where I can cultivate a future. That inability to have control allows me to rely upon God who controls it all. And I'm able to control the controllables, my mindset, my perception, my attitude, period, point blank. And I'm just grateful that at the end of the day, I got exposed to a lot early on with my family dealing with addiction, with my people struggling with aspects, but it's all about how we decide to respond to our fears that determines what type of person that we will become, right? You can allow fear to paralyze you, or you can allow it to motivate you. And I see that evident in people around me. I see it evident in myself. And, I just aim to not allow that fear to keep me at a standstill. I want to make sure that that fear allows me to turn towards faith, right? Because all throughout the Bible, God never tells us, hey, you're not going to have any fear. He tells us, do not be afraid. Feel the fear, but choose faith, right? Feel what it is that your body and what your experiences are trying to tell you, but choose to go and do something about it. Choose to make a difference with your life. Choose to actually make an impact and a significance. And I think that's why we're all consistently showing up to a call like this, even if it's just two of us, even if it's just ourselves. Like, yeah, I was prepared to just do myself for a second. It was like Mikhail didn't hop on until after 45, or it was like 40 or so. I was like, where's everyone at? So I was like, I don't know. Then he's gonna come today. But I was just like, yo, I'm showing up because I know that regardless of what it is, your fight or flight, your responses can either improve a situation or inflame it, right? And I remember there was just like one. This is the last thing I'll say on it. There was just one video I saw from Will Smith speaking about staying around the fire and be around people that fan your flame, but they don't take out your flame. Be around people that encourage and add to the flame so that it continues to burn rather than try to extinguish your flame. And if you recognize that you can't, like a fire is more significantly felt when there are other people around you because there are other testaments of what that fire is doing in that situation, right? If it's cold outside and you by yourself and it's just you and a fire, yeah, you can feel it. But that sense of shared warmth with another person, like think about the times where you've sat around a fire and chopped it up with your loved one or with a friend versus the times where, yes, like you can enjoy the time on your own. But yeah, I said to say I'm grateful for you guys being around the fire with me. And not to get crazy emotional, but it's helped me continuously have a healthy relationship with fear so that as I continuously move forward, I maintain a sense of genuine authenticity in the process. And then, yeah, I'll let Imani and you two dive more into fantasy. It was a nice little thick chapter. Um, but the one thing that I did agree with him on, and this is the only thing I'll say on this chapter, just because I want to read more before I give my intake on it, is that when he said my consciousness was an infinite playground, and that's something that my mentors taught me to embrace, right? God lets us know he can give abundantly more than we can think, ask for, or imagine. Imagination is where we have the ability to cultivate what God has asked us to do and to allow our minds to soar. Understanding to not get too detached from reality, but knowing that that imagination can fuel you into where you're destined to go. Period, point blank. So, anyways, that's my take on this week. I appreciate y'all. Imani, you seem ready to go, so go ahead, girl. Appreciate you, sis.
Good morning, everyone. Hello. Um, yeah, this book is probably going to be really difficult for me. I was reading it or listening to it this morning, and I didn't even I was like, I don't really want to read this book. It's a lot for me. It's too much for me. It's too relatable for me, and it's bringing up a lot of not so fun memories. Um, yeah. But I will say, I will say, um, Marcus, you hit it when he was talking about the brick. That brick story was ridiculous to me because I'm going through a lot of different things here. He's talking about how his dad made him work an entire year, him and his little brother, for a job that would take adults, a few days. And this young kid and his young brother being forced to build a wall. They're gonna build a wall. Um, my bad. I could not help it. So they were like forced to do this, and I could see why they're little kids. They're kids. There's not like a reason for a child really having to do this themselves, but it's happening. And it's okay for them because it taught them a huge lesson, which is a lot of lessons out of trauma, but as he goes on to say in the book, he actually really respected his father because where a lot of his other friends, their fathers were not in their lives, his dad said that he'd rather die than abandon his kids. And I'm like, it's amazing because he did learn a lesson about strength, about resilience, about locking in, digging in deep. He really didn't have a choice, but that was a lesson that he learned from that situation. And then so I definitely agree with you on that. Then chapter one, talking about the crazy love story between his mother and his father, how they had two complete separate relationships, got divorced, had two daughters named Pam, which is wild. Um, Shout out to my mom, that's my mom's name. So they're having this like these arcing stories going on before they merge together and create Will Smith, Will Smith's life, Will Smith's legacy, or his legend. God, there's a lot of puns to be made in this book. Um, Yeah, so I mean, just their relationship, it started off so well and so sweet. And it didn't necessarily, I don't even know how to describe it because throughout the abuse that his father inflicted on his family, there were lessons learned for Will himself. I mean, let's slow down. So we have this couple who, you know, his mother, I love it because I could see where Will gets his attributes from. So his mother has these intelligence, this book smart, yet she's born in a time that's not only affecting women, but it's affecting Black men, which is especially affecting Black women. So she couldn't use her skills at this time to really, I mean, utilize her education, which is such an awful feeling to feel stuck in a certain place. And then you have his father who got discharged from the Air Force for firing his gun in the barracks because a group of his comrades, no, I think that's Russia. What are they called in America? Anyways, it's fine. So a group of his comrades stole the money that he won from them back and he let loose. So this is setting the stage for a very impulsive violent, wild man. This man is wild. Man, he got discharged. He didn't go to jail. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, they're just like, get this man out of here. And then, the family merges together. And with his mom's book smarts and his father's street smarts and pure ambition, they both created a unified business that thrived in Philly. Thrived straight up. They ended up buying a house off of it that was close to um, to the mom's mom. And they were able to heat their house during winter without paying an electric bill. They were getting paid because his father had such determination and sheer will to learn and to capitalize, monetize, excuse me, on what he's learned. And his mom and her intelligence created the whole admin, all the systems, all the invoices, the financial, which both are two major roles of a business. And he had this thriving business. And I think that's
Without AI too, which is lit.
right,
No,
which
it's
I
real
mean,
life.
pure
I've been
strength.
learning. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really interesting that two Black people in Happy Black History Month, um, that pure energy between people's mindset got them where they were with this beautiful home. So, and these beautiful children. And then there's the abuse. Then the abuse comes back around, and all the kids are all the kids have their different way of dealing with this trauma. Will's happens to be wanting to be the peacemaker, the person who makes things light, who can entertain his parents, his family, his dad, his mom, his siblings from not all kind of collapsing. He became a people pleaser. And in that, he used his creativity as an escape. However, he used it as a tool. Because you can say, like, poor Will, he had to find a way to survive. And he did. And however, he made such promises to himself that now look at him. It's Will Smith. We're reading his book. Like, this is the reality of it. I grew up on Fresh Prince, watched that series like 1,000 times. His life is nothing like the Will in the show. No, there's a little similarities, but his birth father was there for him. Abusive, but there for him. Oh my God. Did y'all read the part where the dad was like, send him to the store to get cigarettes? And I started cackling because when I was a kid, my grandma like would send me to the corner store to get cigarettes and I could. That is so illegal now. Like you cannot go and do that. So it's like funny to see the difference in times and how things were. I mean, his dad easily could have got them taken away from CPS if it was today's time, you know? But back then, it's like, yeah, you spoil the rod. Spare the rod, spoil the
Spare the.
rod.
There it
Yeah, I
is.
got it. Um, it was intense. This book, man, it makes me anxious. It's too relatable for me. Like, I've been Will. I know how that feels to have that creativity to escape domestic violence. It's not easy. It's not something I talk about very often to anybody, to strangers. Like, no, like you got to really know me to know the situation that I endured when I was a kid at home. And it's tough to see your mother getting abused physically often as a kid and blaming yourself because you couldn't do anything to stop it. Like, man, there's been times where I kind of feel like the mom and the sister and like the brother, but I also feel like Will in those situations where, you know, oh my God, I don't even know how to talk about this. All right, here we go. Transparency, authenticity. This is real, y'all. I'm giving this to you, okay? Because I love y'all. So there would be times where I'm waking up in the middle of the night, my mom's not there, my stepdad's not there. Thank you. And they're out fighting like straight up in the street. I have a little brother. He was very young he was a baby at the time. So I would have to wake up and take care of this baby. And like, I mean, that's what I had to do because he's crying. I have school in the morning. I don't know where they are. And here I am, 10 something years old, trying to figure it all out. So escapism was so real for me. And later, shout out to therapy, um, I understood the reason for the season, the moves that I made. And creativity was a huge outlet for me. Creating stories, creating like writing. Man, when I say that's where I got my writing from, it's crazy to think about it like that because I always had a passion for creativity and art since I was young. But writing specifically helped me survive because if I didn't write, I would be a hot mess, which I still was a hot mess because I've done some crazy stuff, y'all. But that, from Will's perspective of being a child, how he took this could be debilitating, which it was for him. He felt like he was a coward. His siblings all had a lot of issues with each other growing up. So this is tough situations for children to be dealing with, which I mean, it's amazing that he could become the person that he is. It's like pure strength, pure free will to do what you will. Dang it. Okay, Will, stop. He just the word is gonna be coming up a lot in this book. Um, yeah. I mean, dang. I literally have fought back. I've tried to make the peace. I did what I felt was everything that I could, and I still ended up being the person that always took care of others before I took care of myself and lost myself a lot of times. Will felt he was a coward. This is what he's enduring as a child. So I'm excited to see where that goes as he goes through the book. In the second chapter, talking about fantasy, he would go to his mom and like make up these in like just ridiculous, far-fetched stories where everybody knew he was BSing, he was lying. But in his head, he created these moments, and little does he know that was his safe space. I mean, he probably knows. He knows. I mean, it's him, at this point. But those are, uh-huh. I can't hear you.
No, I was saying like in the moment, he was because it was a coping mechanism. Like, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It was a coping mechanism for him. Like he had, when you're faced with survival, there is a huge difference in how you move. And book club, the other books we read outside of book club, the things we watch, the things we listen to, the people who are around us create these environments, like Marcus said about the flames. And, you can have a friend who fuels your fire and it burns so powerfully, so strong, like a beautiful bonfire at the beach, warm, surrounded by love, surrounded by friends, having a fantastic time, enjoying life. Or you can have a wildfire that burns everything to the ground, or a bomb like that. And what was up with the bomb situation? Was that on his block? I did not finish chapter two either. I'm like almost there, but I was so confused by that. I'm like, what happened? Did his city get bombed? Did his house get burned down? I'm like, ugh, another black neighborhood. Okay, I'm done. So yeah, it's just like hearing him talk about the trumpets and like what did he say? The zoot suiters in the music that he was hearing. And they're like, his siblings were like, he didn't even get in the pool. He listened to the jukebox the whole time. And his mom already knew he was BSing. The neighbor, like, he almost got her. And he was proud of that. I think that was really cute because he was truly, I won't say lost, he was being held. That's like your angels truly protecting you, giving you a place to go. For me, that was my notebook. For me, that was my friends. man, when I felt like I couldn't go to my family, my friends are always there. They were my safe space. My dreams were my safe space. So Will created this world and he just like straight transmutes this energy and respect it. I respect it. I've been through it. I've seen the domestic violence. It's not easy. I mean, but since I've forgiven my stepfather, I've gone through the motions. I've pushed through, not just pushed, but evolved through old pain. I've I'm okay. I'm alive. I'm alive. Oh my God. Okay, my bad, y'all. I just getting caught up in the moment. But I'm really proud of like where I've come, how much I've learned, my ambition, my strength to keep going. It is listening to this book and yes, it is painful. It's bringing up a lot of anxiety. It's bringing up a lot of stuff, but it also showed me like, damn, not only did I survive, but I learned how to thrive. And even though I still got a ways to go, like I'm in the present and I'm grateful for every Saturday that I'm on book club with y'all. So passing it on.
Money, that was fire. And I appreciate your vulnerability and transparency. I think we've had some of that conversation
Likewise,
before in a prior
likewise.
book club, but also I feel you. Like I feel your pain. I actually feel a lot of pain right now trying to walk up these stairs, which is why I'm all stiff because my neck is going crazy. I bumped my head last weekend with my babies. But I think I pinched a nerve low key, y'all. But in that this book though, one of them ones, and the first time that I read chapters 1 and 2 in the intro, I broke down crying in the middle of the book and set that thing down for 2 years. So when I say I feel your pain, I'm like, I really don't want to read this right now. Yo, I had anxiety when niggas brought it up when we were putting it in the freaking roto because I already knew what I was signing up for. And as you said, this book is extremely relatable. And I can then, like, reading the words of that first chapter, it was literally like reliving my whole childhood. And I've had moments exactly like that. And it's crazy. Like, I resonate with being one of the siblings, but I was also the middle child because my stepfather had three other children. Two of them were older than me. And so in that, there was a few nights that I vividly remember hearing my mom scream for me to call the police or call my grandmother or call anybody. She was screaming names on names on names on names on names. And my stepdad, in an intimidation tactic, literally made me bring her a bag of ice and a steak for her face. And in that, like he just instilled the fear right then and there because my stepdad is a real live gangster. Like it's not a game. I've seen him shoot niggas. He do not play. He don't have time to play. So in that, like he goes in. And so living with that fear of like who he is because of how these crazy ass killers in the street treat my father and how they treat us when we come around. And then being in the same home as that as well. And then he's literally beating up my mom in the other room to the point where she's literally screaming, and all of us kids are sitting 6 feet away in my bedroom, sitting on the bunk bed, and my older brother's trying to console us, but he's really just sitting there playing the game like it's normal. It like really fucked with my head as a child. And truth be told, um, I dealt with honestly a lot of those same emotions. And it's crazy because like even just jumping back to the wall story, like we build up certain walls in our life in order to um yeah, this shit is hard. In order to cope with things. And then we end up living in a cage and we don't realize that. And like with Will, some of the underlying factors of these two chapters that is laying out is he built an amazing cage, but it's a cage. Like these tactics of self-isolation, of abandonment when it comes to the actual trauma, and instead of thinking, why did this hurt me? Into thinking, I'm never going to be hurt again like this, and not actually solving the root problem of the issue and where the trauma actually came from. you are literally growing in hurt instead of growing in healing. And in that process, it's literally why, even like right now, I'm like on the verge of tears and want to break down, not even get through what I'm about to say, because of all the trauma over the years for myself, for my mom, the whole nine, as well as how I've gone to cope with these things. I've locked them in a box that's so far away, and it's rare for me to ever open up that box because when I do, I'm a freaking mess and I don't know how to control that mess. And so, recently, honestly, I think the reason why I can even just get through these chapters, these, like, I literally read all this last night and this morning. The reason I could get through and be able to talk myself through the emotions right now, even though I'm shaking, is literally because of this Good Father program that I'm now a coach for. Like, it's literally an 8-week program that helps you diagnose these things of asking, like, why did that hurt? What values were out of alignment? Like, actually solving the root issue of the problem so that the successful individual that you've built up who has thrived can actually walk in that healing and move forward when we're talking about fatherhood. And for a lot of these men that I coach, and even myself, as I dove into what's called the floor plan, it's a tool that we use to coach people where we have people think about the absolute best time in your life when everything was firing on all cylinders and it was just amazing. What did you feel? And after they give me some describing value words, then I say, I want you to think of the place that you were standing in and draw the floor plan like you're an architect. Like, literally draw me out a blueprint. And then in every single room, put describing words on how that space made you feel. And we literally write down their values. Usually they'll end up picking a few. These values they resonate with me. And then they place those values around that space and they figure out, like, this is how it feels when my life is in alignment. And these are the things that must be in alignment for me to feel this way. And then I have them do the opposite. And I say, think of a time when everything absolutely was trash. You felt completely depressed, powerless, like everything was going wrong and you had absolutely no control over anything in your life. Where were you? How did you feel? And what were those values that were out of alignment? And gaining that level of awareness, it's like literally looking out my window right now and I can see somebody before they, I'm gonna see your ass at the stop sign. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna see you all the way over there before you even pull up to my driveway, before you get anywhere near my threshold. I'm going to see you coming a mile away. That is what that awareness does, truly. And as I've been going through just being a coach, coaching other fathers, because he or she who teaches learns twice. I got to learn it for myself over the summer, and I made some drastic changes in my life and in my business. And in doing that, I had to confront a lot of these things that were brought up in these two chapters, and a lot of the fear that I grew up with, a lot of the emotions that I carry with me on the day to day. And honestly, writing my first book called Freedom is literally like damn near was a declaration of exactly what these first two chapters talked about by building that wall and escaping that. And I talked about the process, and then I had to go through the process. And it was a few years long for me as I was going through the process as well, just understanding how to actually break free of your mental cage. And it took a lot. I'm like, at the end of the day, like, we all have to realize that the identity that you built to survive is not the identity that you need to heal, period. And I'm grateful that we've done the work and consistently challenged ourselves to be better, and do more when it comes to our own healing, when it comes to our personal development. Because honestly, doing this shit by yourself, it feels overwhelming, which is why I didn't want to finish the book the first time because I was reading it by myself. The only reason I feel that, Imani, you can even listen to the book is because you know you're going to get on here and be able to actually talk these things out. And it's not going to terrorize you inside of your own brain like it's been doing. So, with that, it's like, for me, I had to really ask myself a deep question. I had to realize a long time ago, like, am I building from vision or am I building from fear? Because the exact same way that he had a traumatic experience and realized I will never let this happen again. That's how I got as well. Like eighth grade, we took niggas to court. Nigga, it was all like as soon as I was of age and could understand the process on how to change things, I started to make intentional changes in how I showed up, making sure that shit like what used to happen would not happen again. Like even on the day of my graduation, I still walked, even though I ain't getting no diploma. But on my day of graduation, I actually went to my parents' house. They bought me a graduation suit. I hadn't lived with them in months. And I get over there, and as I'm tying my tie, my younger brother, he did something wrong in the crib. And my stepdad started to snap. And I said, "Hey, yo, you guys want me around because it's all happy and it's a great day? You're not going to treat my younger brother like that, bro. I don't really care what he did wrong. I'll fix it for him. No problem. But we're not doing that, especially on a day like today." And I've literally just laid these ground rules for like how you're going to treat me and how you're going to treat anybody that I love around me as well. And so instead of going into what it used to be for me, which was being funny, was being a talker, was being charming, was being the peacemaker, was being the healer for somebody else or the entertainer, instead of comedy and entertainment becoming protection and performance becoming safety and becoming liked really becomes survival, I shifted that over the years to not really care. And I really think that I thank network marketing honestly for that because it allowed me to build an almost bulletproof mindset, truth be told. And yeah, I'm grateful for this process. So digging in, I took a lot of notes. I ain't gonna lie to you. I took a lot of freaking notes on this. But ultimately, one other question that I've asked myself, I've asked leaders, I've asked mentors. Hell, me and Marcus have talked about this. It was years ago, but I remember having this conversation with Marcus. Like, yo, if you removed achievement from your identity, what remains? Like, who are you?
Hey, bro, I'm gonna just real quick because that's really something I remember as well. And it's
Mm-hmm.
crazy how like whenever you go through this healing process of just acknowledging what was and acknowledging the growth and how you've coped with it, how you've developed it, and then how you've improved as you've got that new power of awareness. Shout out last year, that was the first book we read. But no, real life, but like, bro, I appreciated that question and it helped me really stay consistent in that. And then I got that same question from Gene.
Mm.
Exact same question, bro, whenever I first met him on that Zoom call. So yeah, bro,
Wow.
powerful question, bro. And I appreciated, that that was like one of our first real conversations we
Yeah.
had.
Literally, though. Literally.
Literally,
I
real for
remember
real.
that. And
Yes,
it's
sir.
like, who are you for real, after the ranks, after the income, after everything else? Like, what are you doing on your everyday to day? And how are you showing up and who are you showing up as? Where in your life are you performing instead of being? And is your discipline rooted in calling or is it rooted in coping? Like, what are you unconsciously living out? And that literal power of awareness, it changed everything for me, bro. And even today, like, I do not have a good relationship with my stepfather at all. He pulled some shit that actually had nothing to do with me at first. It was to my brother, and I held him accountable as I always do. And that caused him to tell me how he really felt. And at this point in my life, I've realized exactly who I am without the achievement. I've realized exactly where in my life I was performing instead of being, and I turned off the camera. I turned off the performance. And I said, "Hey, my man, respectfully, fuck you, dude. I love you, bro. Nah, I respect your work ethic. I went through similar projects like that wall. My dad had me building freaking party buses when I was in high school. He had us building desks, freaking cabinets, freaking like every house project that we could do, he was making us do. And if you did it any type of wrong, he was beating your ass in the middle of doing the project. Like, nigga, let me drop something while I'm trying to hold it in place for him to motherfucking screw it in. He's punching my ass in my chest and telling me to hold it right. And that's just how I grew up. My dad was just rough around the edges. And so, in that, I built a wall to protect myself. I built a wall to perform. I built a wall of other people's perception to make sure it looked like I was doing everything right, even if under the surface everything was wrong. And I just started to recognize that. And I just started to walk in my truth. And walking in that truth is so freeing. And I've come to understand there's a whole nother level of success that comes with fulfillment. And then there's this like, I want to say dystopian, but I don't know if that's the right word. But it's just a completely different version of success that leaves you overall distanced from the rest of society. And there's a level of obsession that, like, with becoming that person with that escape, because eventually success becomes an escape masked as ambition. But in that, like, when all of that shifts, you leave no room for intimacy. And this is why you see a lot of celebrities that can't hold a family together as well as be a celebrity. One thing that I've connected with some of my biggest mentors on was the simple fact that I can be a present father, I can be a present husband, as well as a present business owner, period. And in being able to do that, like, you're not able to do that if you don't confront these things. If yeah, when you're young, you feel powerless and you built a man who must always win. That's sustainable for success, yes, but it's not always sustainable for peace because you literally build a cage inside of yourself and then people rattle that cage whenever they remind you of what you went through instead of just healing and dealing with it and going forward. So instead of healing and actually doing the shadow work, as they call it, to heal that emotional trauma, achievement acts like an emotional anesthesia in a sense. Charisma acts like a freaking safety mechanism. Discipline, you literally put it's like armor on the outside to make sure that you know that you're doing all that you can do so that you don't let yourself feel injured or weak. And in doing that, performance becomes your identity. And that right there is a dysfunctional psychological pattern, period. So in that, like, I wrote this quote down, or not a quote, but I just wrote this thought down as I was reading. And it's like when approval becomes oxygen, criticism becomes suffocation. And it that literally echoes in your life later. And more than likely, it ends up echoing in very public ways. I've had it happen to me. And that part, it changes everything. It happened with Will. We all saw his whole world get blasted about his wife, about the infidelity, then he's slapping folks. Like, all of this kind of came to a not conclusion, but like a climax as he dropped this book. And the reason being, this is honestly one of the reasons I've been so afraid to write my own story. It's the reason why I've done these little ass books that are just talking about game and just giving sauce away, is because I know the effect that is going to have by me writing this story and then people knowing all of the crap that is going on in my life and where I've actually built myself from and the pile of ashes that I came from. I know for a fact it is going to emotionally affect me, period. It's going to emotionally affect society. These stories always do. Look at how we're low key all getting into tears on this call, low key. So, in that, it's scary and it's intimidating, truth be told. But I'm very proud of Will for actually doing it because I know how hard it is to look back upon these memories and then write them down. So, in that, like, I just love the process of success. There's so many different ways to get there. And I think that this book really like models in the fact that success literally is like mental migration. You're moving from one environment to a whole different environment. And you've got to do it right, or else you fumble the bag in the process. And if you literally fumble the bag or lay a brick wrong in the foundation, that wall will crumble. That success will crumble as fast as it was built. So, in that, by having that psychological migration, also doing the healing though, because here we're literally learning how obsessive nature turned into a dysfunctional type of healing for him. And he created a new narrative, a new status, and he wanted to transcend his original story. He didn't want to just succeed. And this is literally very common in most high achievers. They come from a similar place, a similar, like, they damn near use everything going on and the pain that was in their life as an escape, or excuse me, not a escape, but like they reinvent themselves, and that reinvention and that path of success becomes the escape. This happened for me, especially when I didn't finish high school and I moved out of my parents' crib because everything that was going on. Nigga bleed me bloody to a pulp that last day before I moved out. And I vowed to never feel like that again. I'm not gonna never let nobody feel like make me feel like that ever in my life. And in that, that obsessive nature created a monster. I was a real live dog for some years. And as it created that monster, I had to get myself together because I saw myself going off a deep end and I saw myself living and acting and ended up being, or excuse me, not ended up, but going towards a life that I honestly didn't want. Not the life that I dreamed about when I was in there getting abused or when my mom was getting beat up. That wasn't what I was dreaming about. I was dreaming about living a good, fulfilled life where this wasn't happening at all. And going down the path that I was going down at the time, I was going to end up here or there, excuse me. I wasn't going to go any other way because eventually it was all just going to break. And when I broke, it was going to be hell to tell the captain. I would notice it in how I used to treat my wife when she was my girlfriend. I would notice it how I used to treat my friends, how I used to be outside, like everything. And all of these little things really came down to like, bro, heal the little boy. And once you heal the little boy, then from there, you can really dive in. Because if you thought the last 10 years of your life was a fantasy, wait till you see the next 10 healed. It hits way different. It's a whole, man, it's literally, it's a dream come true, a dream come true. The life that I get to live today and the mental space that I have today, just knowing like, yo, my kids will not have to ever feel that shit because I healed. That right there is powerful. And I implore everybody to really just take the time to dig into your past, dig into all the trauma, and actually heal because, bruh, the shit'll wreck you if you let it for real. And we think that we're cool until we're not. And then we got to take a week and just self isolate and can't talk to nobody or do nothing because one thing knocks us off our rocker and we go right back into the tunnel. So, in that, that healing makes you be able to permanently lock that cage and throw away the key and walk away from it. And in doing that, that's that process that Marcus and I talk about all the time is killing your old self. Because once you starve that motherfucker and he can't eat, it's a wrap. Eventually he will succeed, excuse me, eventually he will cease to exist. And that's a cool thing that has happened with Will over the years, in a sense. But also you can see how this pain still pushes him to do crazy things and he's still on the escape route. He's still trying to escape the exact trauma that he went through way back in the day, even though he's majorly successful, one of the most successful people on the planet, been able to do a lot of things that nobody on the planet has ever done. But in that, there's a sacrifice that comes with winning, as we all know. And ultimately, I feel like the sacrifice can just be different depending on how you lay the foundation of your life. And that's really been my main life lesson as I've been going through these chapters. Like I definitely took hella notes, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately, like what it comes down to is these first two chapters and even just him building that wall, it cemented the discipline like how my father cemented discipline in me. It cemented work ethic, just how my father cemented work ethic in me. It cemented grit. It cemented that like bulletproof mentality, like hell no, you're not gonna do me like that, and I'm gonna go get what I came for. Because one night I got exactly what I didn't want. And from there, that night that you do nothing becomes your life driver that you push forward. And sometimes you end up accepting internal agreements that, why, yes, from the outside looking in, it looks like it's a bad agreement to accept. But from the inside looking out, it's the only agreement to accept that'll make sure that you actually get to where you're headed. And then from there, you've got to accept new agreements. And so I just really like, it's crazy because this entire book I know for a fact is just going to rock my whole life. And it's going to inspire me to actually write my book. And I'm excited, like real life, to actually go through the process and do this. But I also like real life am scared sometimes to just confront some of these things because this is your origin story for your drive to domination and invincibility. But also, you got to go and confront those things where you were the exact opposite of that, the exact opposite of driven, the exact opposite of strong. and the exact opposite of invincible when you felt weak and powerless. And it takes that recognition. But ultimately, if you shift the identity and instead of building your identity on performance, you build it on purpose. Instead of going pain, performance, praise to temporary safety, you end up going pain, performance, purpose. In that process, you'll get some praise, but you won't even really care about it. And it'll be forever safety. You'll know that whose you are and who you are, and you'll be able to literally walk in that each and every single day. It's another level of faith. And that level of faith, it literally changes things because in that, God does this thing where he pushes you to depend on absolutely nothing but him because he wants your heart. Shout out Marcus for the video the other day. But that is all he wants. And he's going to push you until he has it. And then once he has it, man, I promise you, living example, everything shifts. And it shifts slightly. But as it's shifting slightly, like eventually you literally get to a point where you have made a 360-degree change. Now it might take 360 different shifts. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole process. And it sucks. It sucks damn near 90% of the way through. But that last 10%, you start to realize and wonder, like, is this real? And in this season of my life, I've literally struggled in myself and my wife, just asking the question to ourselves, like, bro, like, are we gonna lose this? Or like, are we good now? You know what I'm saying? Are we out of this struggle period? And it comes with this like realization of things changing. And I believe we'll probably hear about that in the next coming couple chapters about this shift that starts to happen as things start to really get bigger and better. But in that, I'm just grateful for the shift because instead of praise becoming validation and validation becoming survival, praise becomes a byproduct of you just doing what's right. And then instead of getting it, you more so give it the entire time. And you're giving that praise to whom it's actually due. And in that same process, you literally end up cementing the promise that God had for your life. And I feel like it's a process that everybody goes through. Will has gone through and he's still going through it today because these shifts, as I said, they're not small. So, and then they keep on happening. So, this is literally like when it comes to psychology and just how you think, if you change how you think, you change your life. If you change the traumatic patterns that you've built up and the habits that you've built up and actually change them to purposeful habits and purposeful experiences, like, yo, you can create a purposeful life. And in that, I feel like this book is essentially, at least in these first couple chapters, like this is telling you about one, exactly how a celebrity mindset and psychology is built, but also it's giving you an introspective into what not to do. I'm quite positive we're going to hear about his healing in this process too, but it literally kind of gives you an insight to be like, yo, let me not, like, yes, we can be hyper disciplined, but let me not let that govern my life and the emotional suppression and the achievement as armor also govern my life. Let me actually just find my purpose and walk in it and be disciplined about that. And by actually sitting down and be like, yo, why am I here? What do I want? For real, not worldly, like in my heart, what do I want? And when you can truly answer yourself that question without a shadow of a doubt, I promise you, you will start to see it in your life. And that part is what I feel like this is like on the in between the lines type of feel. I feel like that is what this is giving us a blueprint for. So I'm excited for the psychological shift that's definitely going to happen because essentially the question that is going to be answered, I believe, throughout us reading this is can you build an empire without losing yourself? And the way that you answer that question will determine the life that you live. My question is absolutely. You definitely can. I've been able to do it in my own life. I don't have as big as an empire as I would want yet, but oh, I got one. And I'm really freaking proud of it. And I'm really freaking proud of the man who's created it and everybody who's in it as well. Because I could not do it alone at all whatsoever. Couldn't do it without God, couldn't do it without the people that he's used in my life as well. So with that, very grateful, but I'm really excited to dig into that question with you guys as we continue moving forward because these chapters show how trauma talent, and focus, relentless focus, creates massive success, but also emotional fragility. And instead of being emotionally fragile, I'm so grateful for what we've created here because we can cement and understand how trauma, talent, and relentless focus can create massive success. But we can also accompany that with our faith. We can accompany that with the healing. We can accompany that with the awareness and the understanding of what healing looks like and go and utilize that to then from there build an empire without losing ourselves and actually feel fulfilled as we accomplish these goals and dreams in our life. And that is something that 99% of successful people do not have. So, that right there, I'm really freaking grateful for this book club. I'm extremely grateful that we're kicking off the second book of the year and it being this one. I'm extremely intimidated because sometimes I don't know if I'm building something or running from something. And I'm still trying to figure that out my damn self. And I'm in that process. So, in that, I feel like this is going to cement that neural pathway of just knowing exactly what we're building, period. So, I'm grateful for y'all. This has definitely been a phenomenal first two chapters. When his dad said, "Don't ever tell me you can't do something again," that made me really think about my father and all the little projects that we did over the years. And like I tell Marcus all the time, bro, look at the track record of your life, bro. God had you 100% at the time. Every single time you thought you couldn't do it, you did it. You're still here. Somehow you made it through because you ain't dealing with whatever it was anymore. So in that, it's literally a whole process and that continues to happen. But also, oh man, he is on it and Brooklyn's gonna be pissed. But on that, like I'm freaking grateful, y'all. Truly. I'm freaking grateful because we gonna figure out how to build a life one way or another. And the cool part is we get to do it together. I don't care if nobody ever watches these recordings. I just appreciate y'all showing up every single week. I appreciate everybody who's actually been digging in each and every single week now for the last like 4 years, which is crazy. Literally just about every single Saturday we've had a Zoom open doing book club for the last 4 years. And I've started to notice in my life from other people in my life how much of a difference it makes. Truly. This personal development, I promise y'all, just start being aware of people who are not doing it and then like put yourself in the same rooms as them sometimes. And when you put yourself even in some of the same races, you can see how you've created yourself to be an outlier. Like big shout out to Mr. Marcus. Obviously, he started with the whole trust gig. Basically, he started this past week. And bro, it's literally like it's one thing to take an eagle eye perspective on yourself and be like, yeah, I'm different. It's a whole nother thing to see the byproduct of that as well. Literally coming in like, oh, that nigga different. Gene on the phone with this dude, they chopping it up, having conversations. You don't do that with everybody on the team. Like what you told me this morning. Like that does not happen, bro, at all. We've had maybe one talk like that myself, even too. And in that, like, bro, it's not normal. And the way that you show up is not normal at all. And the personal development and the process that you've gone through to heal through everything that you've been through, bro, it's commendable. Truly, you're an outlier. And it's dope as hell to see. And I'm literally seeing you walk in it more now than ever. You know what I'm saying? Network marketing, you have to create an outlier. You have to be that person. And if you don't be that person, you're not successful. So in that, it's not as abnormal and it's not as clear the growth truly. And so being able to see it over this past week, I really got to recognize exactly how much growth you've been through over these last few years. And just seeing like the Marcus that I met who couldn't make a sale for his freaking life to like now this one who comes in, he's whooping everybody ass in sales. You know what I'm saying? Dope, no lie. Because when I first met you, bro, you were not him. Like you were not the guy who Gene would have hired this past week and been like, yeah, he's gonna kill it. And then you come in and kill it. There were like some monumental shifts that you've made over the last couple of years, um, really like deeply over the last like year, 2 years, that have completely shifted how you show up in every single room. And it's so amazing to see because it's literally this process of killing your old self. What? That's crazy, bro. These people at Water Park America is tripping. Um, My daughter has a birthday party today, and I don't know if we're gonna bring her to it because I don't want to spend that bag. But do I want to literally not spend the bag for my daughter's first birthday party that she got invited to because of the bag that I actually do have? Hell no. So I think we're just gonna go, and my wife's gonna be a little mad at me, but chalk it up to the experience. Because hey, I don't I don't grind like this, nigga, to not be able to support my little baby and tell her we can't afford something. I grind way too hard to be able to afford it all. So, but it is crazy, nigga. I'm about to drop about $400 just bringing her to this birthday party.
Damn, do all of y'all gotta go? Just
Yeah,
send
we
Jesus.
if it wasn't a water park and my baby wasn't getting in like an indoor water park and swimming with folks, then yeah, I would definitely drop her off, drop $65 and be smooth. But hell no. I ain't doing that. So it's either one of us go and then one of us take Micah, or we all go and just get a room there because it's honestly cheaper to get a room than it is to just pay for the passes. So, yep, pray for me today, boy, because that's crazy. That's crazy. But shout out the gig. You know what I'm saying? Already made about almost 2 bands this week. So I'm cool. Not tripping. I just gotta make it to Friday. But I'm definitely about to spend half of what I made yesterday. This freaking birthday party. This is crazy. But no, man, I'm grateful either way. Like, even those things, bro, that right there just now, literally a process of changing my freaking survival habits and thought patterns and just shifting to abundance. Like, yeah, if it's a little bit of a stretch, stretch that thing. Your comfort zone is your wealth zone. Get bigger. You know what I'm saying? That's all. So I'm trying to transition myself on being like, okay, like if you want to go be more successful and do more and have more, stop worrying about how you can spend less. Shit, go spend more, bro. Go make more, bro. You know what I'm saying? Turn up. Go ahead.
Just talking about this week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like having the mindset of like, no, we're gonna do this because we know who we are stepping into and the type of lifestyle that we want to create. I wanted to touch on something you said, bro, because I think it's a really big deal. And I also got that feel from what Bill was talking about. Before I do, I just want to say I appreciate you, man. I really do. Having freaking tearing up behind these sunglasses. Y'all can tell, but I'm over here like a big old baby. Now I just I've been genuinely, just seeking the things of God and really just making sure that my alignment, like you talked about, like what do you really want? Not in a materialistic sense, but in your heart, deep down. What does that look like? Because whether or not you want to identify it, deep down you know. And then on top of it, the Lord knows as well. And He won't ever let you fully experience all that He has for you, what that is. You have to first order to yourself and then do the actual healing in order to step into that spot in that zone. And like I think it's important that we're gonna see how Will from what we've seen in the media, but also gonna experience it while we're reading it. And I'm going through it. This is this is beautiful Texas, y'all. But um yeah, man, it's just like being intentional on okay, let's ensure that we can lose our old self and not lose our identity of who we know we're called to be, right? And like actively step into everything that we have and are going to build for our loved ones and our family as we're continuously taking those steps. So, bro, I resonated with that. So I'm serious. Like I felt that deeply when you were like, "Yo, it's not just about getting the large success because you're gonna get there, but it's like you see how these people who get to the top and either take their own life or are completely still trying to find something, spinning their wealth, spinning their things to go and accompany what I believe to be the most important thing, and that's us having a peace of mind, right? Being intentional of being present and really utilizing and experiencing it all. So I appreciate you touching on that. I think that's essentially what he's talking about, and I think Imani hit it on the head when it comes to when you operate in that sense of fantasy and that imagination. Like it's a good thing, but
it's kind of like we talked about this, right, bro? You can't be so heavenly bound that you're no earthly good.
Right. Exactly. That's a bar.
Like,
That's a
like
complete bar, like for real.
it's real though. Like there's so many people that get so caught up in just understanding or going after certain things or having this perspective, but not really putting that significance and actually do something with the time you're given, with the breath that you have, with the life that you have in store. So, I appreciate you saying that, bro, because I've seen it evident in your life. I've seen Imani, what I'm saying? I gave you flowers earlier this week, just talking about how we've been able to create a relationship over the years. And like, there's a reason why we connected the way we did in the middle of a freaking apartment complex that you used to work at. So like, it's actually crazy. I don't know if you worked there, but you came from an apartment complex
I
into
lived
that
there,
apartment. I
worked
don't
for the
remember.
company.
Okay. But I was like, I remember you coming from work that day, and like out of everybody that was in the room, like your energy was right in tune with mine. You're like, yo, let me know what's up and where do I need to go to get this ticket so I can be in the room for Unlimited. I was like, say less. I'll see you then. That was when you first met Mikhail. Was at Unlimited. It's
Hmm.
like, bro,
Flew right up in there. They
it's
let
really
me out of
cool
work
when you,
early and everything. I was like, I'm making it. I did it.
The vibes were
because I
immaculate.
remember you're like, I might not. You're like, I might not make the first day, but I'll definitely be there for the second day. And then you showed up at the first day. You're like, y'all, I'm here. Pen and paper. Let's get
Yeah.
it. And it's real life because at the end of the day, like, it's just being intentional. And I'm just grateful for this space too, y'all. And I think that our heart postures have been in the right position because, like, as we've talking about it and reading it, we've been intentionally engineering and architecting our life. It's not like, oh, we're by chance or hey, we're just going after this. Because if we know that we believe in a God that's going to give it to us, it's not a matter of if you're going to get it, you're going to get it. It's what are you doing with it and how are you living your life every day? That's one question, bro, that I recognize. I was like, yeah, God, I hear you. This is definitely going to be either one of my greatest mentors, one of my greatest friends, or all of the above whenever we had that discussion, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because I was like, yo, not many people understand that. I've always got taught, like, what are you trying to go and win and accomplish? And let's go and work towards that. You're like, nah, bro, that thing is ours. So how are you living? It's
Yeah,
not a matter.
literally.
Yeah, like we're there. You got it. What's up? And that honestly allowed for a paradigm shift in my brain that once you expand that thing, you can be open to understanding. Oh, this is why you do not, y'all, you can't be tailgating each other. Players, y'all are wilding. All right, we good. We good. That's why I kept my space. Quit playing defensive driving. 1-on-1. I done learned lessons, y'all. This is crazy. I was like, I'm about to witness a whole action right now. I was like, whoa. No, but we're good. We're good. We have plenty of space. I'm smooth. Um, that just scared me. But I'm not gonna lie. Literally took me off of what I was saying. I was wrapping up though. So point
Yeah.
being, point being is, y'all, I'm grateful that we all been moving with that intention, and we
Yeah.
we we here truly. Next week, yo. So this is a thick book, as you guys have and can see. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're looking at the each chapter on YouTube or you got the book in hand, it's not a simple one. So I'm gonna start off with this caveat. I planned out the chapters so that we're not spending a season trying to read and discuss this book of will. So it's gonna be 4, sometimes 5 chapters at a time. Um, I
Whoa.
did I did the chapters though, and the pages are not that excessive. At most, I think there'll be maybe one day where you have to read like 15 pages instead of the normal 10 that you would usually do. Imani, I know you're listening to it, and I don't know if you like to just be present or you're just moving and grooving and listen to it. But if you're just listening to it, throw that thing in between your drives or whatever the case might be, just so that it's not taking a lot of your time. But I'm literally saying this for both me and Mikhail. This book we cannot wait for the night before, the day, and the morning of, player. so, so let's make sure that we can just be intentional.
Yeah.
Now it's real life because me and Mikhail, we talk about this. Like sometimes we just be moving and grooving. We're like, oh, we got to read tonight, or I wake up early and I'm reading in the morning. So just making sure we got that thing in motion and we're not like overwhelmed because we got so much that we got to cover. But yeah, so next week Next week it is chapters 3, 4, 5, and 6. Chapters 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I repeat,
Hey, I'm gonna be listening to some of this though,
yeah, three,
because I'm thinking
four,
about
five.
my life and schedule.
I know it. I know it. But think about it, bro.
We can do it
Like,
though.
yeah, some of the time we be spending just chilling. We can just read like 5 pages real quick. Boop, boop, boop.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Here and
Yeah,
there.
no, I've honestly I've went through a lot bigger books in a lot shorter time.
Like
Like
what?
if I can,
That's
like in high
fair.
school, I literally read Harry Potter, The Last Deathly Hallows Part Two, is 780 pages. I read that whole in 48 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah,
once
but
you're
you
locked
watch
in, you're locked in. It's
You
easy.
know exactly.
it.
But you
So
take it
that's
in
all it is.
pieces so you can absorb more. So that's the whole point.
Exactly.
You gotta absorb it. Marcus, I started listening to Jim Rohn, and it's crazy how the things that I was listening to are directly correlating with this book. Here we go again with another book lining up with life. It's intense because you already know, like your girl been like going crazy trying to make sure that the path is laid, and I'm walking on it every single day. So yeah, it will.
Wow. Look, you ain't trying. You're actually walking it. So
You're
Never.
doing
while
it.
you're in the midst of it, you're just instead of just walking it ill-equipped, you're at least showing up with some understanding, and that
You
makes a
know?
difference. That makes
I
a
got some
difference.
walking shoes. I got some water. I got a sun visor, some sunscreen. Like I'm really on that path, you know. We on it for the long road. That's why we prepare. We even got a little protein
Amen.
bar. You feel me?
Hey,
Man,
that last part, preparation though, real quick little bar. The last thing I wanted to say, and it has to do with that. So shout out you, girl. But so one thing about Will, he studied other artists obsessively. He studied artists, he studied people, successful people obsessively. And then he reverse engineers that success and becomes strategic. That's low key what we do on this call. And so it says we see the early seeds of what later becomes his trademark mindset: outwork everyone, out prepare everyone, and out believe everyone. If you can do those three things, you'll be a killer.
Shout
Period.
out
And I'm
Survivor.
excited. You just
yeah,
said preparation. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, hold on, let me clock that real quick and just say this because I forgot to say it earlier. But real
okay.
life,
Yes.
like Joey Wilson, I give that man a lot of credit for who this entrepreneur is today. You know, we're gonna leave
Yeah,
what's understood and ain't gotta explain that part. But that man came over my house day one and he told me that exact thing. He said, bro, tonight I'm gonna introduce you to the workhorses. And going forward from there, we are going to outwork the workhorses. If they say do 10% presentations, we're going to do 20. They say 10 a day keeps the bills away. So that day we showed 20 people, I made $1,000 day one. He literally cemented this in and got me the results on the back end. So I know for a fact, like if you do it the functional way, you know what I'm saying, not the dysfunctional way that as you're doing shit you'll regret. But if you do it this functional way, yo, you outwork everybody like with the mindset of I'm gonna outwork and out prepare and literally outbelieve every single person. You know, I'm telling you, you literally will be unstoppable. And there's no obstacle that will get in your way that will ever deter you from your path. And you'll literally work out miracles, you and God doing y'all thug thizzle. Why? Because your faith and your action will literally be in alignment with his calling.
Oh
literally.
my God. Yes. That's how they win that $1 million on Survivor. I'm telling you. Outwit, outlast, outplay. That's exact. Y'all gotta watch that show. It really is like
So
Real
funny that
life
you say.
though.
No,
it's
but so what? I'll put one thing on the preparation because you had mentioned something in turn. Well, we had talked about like, yo, you're showing up already, and you can either show up prepared or not. Like, but you're doing it right. So in that process, it's wild how things are aligned too. Because in Bible study, we just read the first chapter of Mark, and we spoke about and really dove into the fact that how Jesus literally like casted out a demon from a man as one of the first signs that people are like, who is this dude? And he speaks with so much authority. And we turn to a scripture where it talks about how, and you hear this pretty often, we don't go against things of this planet or this earth. We face evil principalities and spirits that are of the spiritual realm. And the point of the story is you either, like, there's a war happening, whether or not you show up with your helmet, with your sword, and with your shield. There's a race to be won, and it does not care whether or not you're prepared. It is looking for those that are prepared. Shout out to Ms. Grover. But like as we grow in our execution, it's not only just preparing to execute the plan, but it's the preparation that you do inwardly that allows for you to continuously prepare outwardly. And that's what you're doing. Like you constantly feeding your mind, showing up, and then let me go, walk the walk, do what I can, trial and error, learn, adjust, reassess, execute again. But now you're executing with even more preparation because you've done the internal prep, period, point blank. And I think that's where low key God has us in this season is like, yo, I've been preparing y'all to execute on the preparation I've taught you through your lessons. Like, show up and make sure when you show up, oh, yeah, you've got your ducks in order and you got your T's crossed. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. A lot of like us like the one thing I was just seeing how many calls that you've been on and how it stretched you in your life as a father, as a husband, and your own personal clientele. I'm also like, bro, I'm out here real life. I'm literally at church now from Sunday to Thursday, practically. And then in that process, like I'm still pushing my personal brand and working with clientele there and and working on my temple. I was like, yo, if I'm before I even hopped on the call with Cordero, I'm like, I need to make sure that I can identify how he's prepared me to come to this type of playing field prepared. And am I willing to be sick to say no to the things like Tim as Grover talked about in making your no list? And am I willing to do what needs to be done when it needs to be done, period, point blank? And like I wouldn't be participating if I didn't give that answer a yes, period. So Imani, I'm giving you encouragement because as somebody who was, my mom says this, and it was like confirmational for me. She was like, "Son, you've always been a disciplined person, but I didn't realize how that level of discipline you've been able to raise the bar in. Like you do way more than most the average people do, and it's why sometimes people get either discouraged or feel some type of way when they're around you." And I was like, "No, I hear that." We were speaking on
Inspiration or intimidation?
big facts, big facts.
It's
But
one of the
Imani,
two.
you keep inspiring though, and regardless of the fact, like you showing up for yourself and seeing that progression, like just keep doing what you're doing, not just doing the work, but making sure you're prepared as the work is being done, and then refining the preparation. Because if you don't show up to execute the plan prepared, you're preparing yourself to fail. Period. Point blank. It's just like going a little deeper, and that was like a big key for me that changed some results in my life. Just like I'm over here just trying to plan and just do crap. And as I'm executing, I'm like, why am I not following through with my plans, bro? And it's because I didn't take the intentionality and the energy to prepare properly. So I'm proud of us. I'm proud of all of us, y'all. We're literally doing the thing. And everybody catch recording. Make sure y'all be in motion, prepare, read your books, and show up and work. Let's get it. I love y'all.
Bye. See y'all later.
And gang out the jungle. Love y'all too. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
I'm not gonna wear those to you.
What?
You're so funny. Never wear them. Um,
Okay,
Either the
brother.
sharks or the blue.
I'll say something.
Yeah.
Tell me bye.
All right, bye. Hey, I'm gonna call my brother first, and then I'll call you right after because he just called me.
I have a call at 1, so if you're not
So
there,
do
bye.
okay. So do I. I'm gonna make it quick. Bye.
Later, bye.